Hi, welcome back to Good Job Mom. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am going to be talking with Anita. She is a creative arts therapist that specializes in dance and movement, and she just has so much knowledge to give us about how to navigate COVID-19 with our kids, and also how to navigate the racial tension and everything that is happening and how to navigate it with them emotionally. So let's get into this conversation. I hope that you enjoy it. Any questions that you may have, go ahead and drop them below or send me a message. You can also contact Anita. I'm going to have all of her information in the description box. All right. Welcome to Good Job Mom. Today we have Anita on with us. She is so bomb. She has been my go-to with any of those things with AJ specifically over the years. I mean, literally since he was a toddler. So I'm excited to have her on today. Today we're going to talk about just our kids and their emotions through COVID-19, going back, entering them back into the world eventually, whenever that might happen, slowly but surely, in the name of Jesus, it's gonna happen. And then we're also gonna kind of talk about what's been going on these past few weeks and how to navigate that with our kids, with race and racism, what we should talk about, how we should talk about it. Anita.
Yes.
Hi, thank you so
Hi.
much. Tell us what you do.
Okay, so as Whitney stated, I am a creative arts therapist, and I specialize in dance therapy and child parent psychotherapy. Um, I'm currently working under a limited permit, full licensure soon. And I use both dance, art, I use yoga, I use play therapy, along with psychotherapeutic techniques to address the mental health needs of children 0 to 5, as well as their parents, so families. And there are a few times where I have elementary age clients as well. I am a children's yoga instructor. I'm currently training how to teach kids 0 to 5, but I am trained in teaching children 6 to 12.
Okay, that is amazing. So if you could just break it down for all of us that might be like me, a little on the slow side.
I will try. Because I am talking about dance therapy, I have to include the American Dance Therapy Association's definition.
Okay.
So according to the ADTA, dance therapy is the psychotherapeutic use of movement to further emotional, social, cognitive, and physical integration for the individual for purpose of improving health and well-being. It's not a dancing technique or a form of dance that you can teach someone. You know, the movement comes from the clients, and I, the therapist, is there to guide their steps intuitively and just being in touch with their emotions, to use different exercises to help them express themselves both verbally and non-verbally. So some techniques I use are mirroring, which is where you're looking at a client and they're doing movement and I am mirroring their movement, not necessarily doing the exact same thing that they're doing, but tapping into the emotions. What Zuri did earlier today.
Yes.
At someone's movement, and she because I work with kids, it looks like storytelling, embodying feelings. Do you feel sad today? What does sad look like? Are you feeling strong? How can we move like we're strong? Are we moving slow? Are we moving fast? Playing around with polarities. Sometimes I even use freeze dancing. Something that seems so simple does so much for children. Feelings are stored in the body, and depending on how we move and stretch, we give our body access to more feelings.
That is amazing. I think it's cool that we can express, I mean, it makes sense, obviously, right? But we can express how we feel through movement. And then that's dope that you guide them through that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As a creative arts therapist that works with kids 0 to 5 and their parents, what have been the most common emotions that you've seen through COVID-19?
Okay, so the most common emotions with children that I've come across in my Zoom sessions have been frustration,
Mm.
anger, anxiety, increased energy, increased tantrums, increased irritability, which looks like, I want to play with this. And when they get it, no, I don't want to play with this anymore. I want to do that. Children all over are experiencing small losses in their lives, the ones that they once knew. And, no matter how many times parents try to explain what is happening to them, they are still going to have these feelings. And I think it's important for parents to just validate these feelings and try to help them process them as best as they can.
Yeah, a common emotion definitely that AJ has brought up is that he is frustrated, he's angry, he's sad, and he has mentioned happy. But on the side that, worries a parent is the angry and the frustrated. So you've seen that with the kids that you're working with. And I'm sure, just like I can relate to that, I'm sure a lot of moms watching right now can relate to that. What can we do? I know you said validate, but what tools that you use with your kids you work with, like what can we apply?
Okay. So I start my sessions by asking children how they feel.
Okay.
What does sad look like? And then I ask them to show me what it looks like. And if they're stuck, I help give them, movement or language. And I think that's something that parents can do as well. So if they're having a hard time expressing these different emotions, or if you can visibly see that they are, help them, give them words. Is it this? Is it that? Let's draw it out. Let's dance it out. Is there a song that I could use to help you with? What's your favorite song? And play that and just help them to embody those feelings that are stored in there in a nonverbal way, because sometimes it is hard for kids to say what they are feeling.
When we moved from Florida to Maryland, you were so instrumental in like helping me help AJ process. And he had a really tough time. I mean, we saw AJ act in ways that we did not see before. And I remember you saying to do the drawing and actually draw with him. And that was super helpful because he drew our house in Florida and the things we did in Florida. He drew like our new place. And so we were able to turn that into a conversation, and it was super helpful. So I just say all of that because moms, I've applied that aspect of it and it worked. It broke down some walls and I saw, some better behavior, some more like loving and positive behavior. Right? Yeah.
When you're engaging in those activities, it's like, I see that you're experiencing this emotion. Like, I'm acknowledging it, I'm validating it, telling you that it is okay, I'm not judging you, but also I'm helping you create a story to understand why you're feeling it this way. So I'm also understanding, I'm taking the time out to understand as a parent. Like, I want to understand you because you're my child and I love you. And I see that you're having a hard time.
What's the best way to engage with a child that is feeling angry and disobedient?
Oh, that is a tough one because
yes,
I know
it is.
For parents, I know for parents, it's probably hard to see your child in such distress and in a state that you can't necessarily fix in the moment. So once again, validating their feelings. I see that you're very angry right now. Before this event, you were happy, and now this event happened, and now you're sad. Help them to name it and encourage them to use their words and not their hands. And if that doesn't work, you just continue to give them a safe space, or I would give them an object to release their anger. So like a stress ball.
Okay.
Some people will use a sock and bopper. That's something that I've used. It's like a kind of like a tall, inflatable bag that children can manipulate and push anyway using force, and it just kind of bounces back.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, so you're like letting them get out their anger and frustration, and it's coming back. It's standing strong. It's like, I can take it. And that's kind of the message that you're giving them. Like, you can be as angry as you need to be, and I'm here to understand it. I'm not scared. I'm providing this safe space for you to do that.
Mhm.
Feel free to do that.
We shouldn't be scared when our kids get angry and they're like acting like a hot mess and wanting to maybe even get like not physical with us, or maybe some moms experience that, but like physical. It's okay for them to want to kind of get it out physically.
Definitely, because I
Okay.
feel like when it's suppressed, it'll come out in another way, or the kids are not actually learning how to express this feeling that may not feel so good. So they're not learning how to do it.
Mhm.
And so it'll keep coming up and it'll keep being as explosive. Some other things that I've also used are drums. You can bang drums as loud as you can, get all that frustration out. You can scream. You can sing a song really loud. Just any way for them to channel that energy. And when all fails, um, you just let them be.
Okay.
You know? Like, I cannot console you right now. I really, really want to be able to console you, but I see that you really need this time to be
Mm,
angry and to
okay.
express yourself. And so I'm gonna be here, not necessarily in your face. You may not want to be held right now, but I'll be here right next to you to make sure that you're safe while you are expressing these perceived negative feelings.
So, I'm going to use AJ again as an example. Something that's been happening lately for us is he gets frustrated and he's like, ugh, or he rushes up the stairs, or he's like, does this to us. For me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, don't do that. Like, don't
Mhm.
make the sound, right? But that's actually positive for him to do that because
I
it's
think
him
it's
releasing it.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the parent. So I come from a West Indian background, and if I were to say "Ugh" to my parent, that could be viewed as disrespect.
Right.
But but it's actually him not harming, himself, not harming you, and he's just like releasing these frustrations. I
Okay.
don't know what to do with this. I'm gonna make a sound. That's
Okay.
also something we use in creative arts therapy, just using sounds to express ourselves. I think that's healthy, but also reminding him, of course, about the rules of the house,
Right.
and what's appropriate and what's not, how mommy and daddy see things when he does it, and just also just letting him know that being angry is okay, but here are some ways, some healthy ways that
Okay.
mommy and daddy can help you to be angry. I wouldn't necessarily shame him and say don't do that, or
Okay.
don't, like, in the moment it doesn't help. Maybe if he does that and he comes back later, we can talk about it, like, when you made that sound, what did that mean? But yeah,
That's
we
so
don't
good.
we
Okay.
don't judge or discourage in the moment, but just give them that space to be, but definitely have a conversation afterwards.
Okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is he like turning crazy? Like, don't judge me. But, I'm like, but it makes sense. I mean, we have our ways that we get our frustration out when something happens. We make sounds too. So it
Mhm.
makes sense that they would do it. Okay. This is really good. And I've come to you about this too. How can we tell if our child is experiencing normal emotions
Mhm.
versus emotions that he or she needs to see a therapist for?
Okay, so if the emotions that a child and their behaviors that they're experiencing or displaying are hindering their daily routines and activities, I think that's when there's a red flag. So sudden bedwetting when they weren't doing it before, like
Okay.
regress behavior, or like any kind of abrupt change in behavior. I always suggest that parents keep a timeline, remember major events that may have happened, and monitor the different changes so that they can bring all of this information to a therapist during the intake process. So all of a sudden, if a child is having increased stomach aches and it's happening every day, and you know that there's no change in their diet, that could be like an emotion or something that they're going through that they can't articulate. But 100%, if there is like an abrupt shift, you'll know when it's a red flag.
Okay.
Also, yeah, if you're trying, like, if you know something traumatic happened and you didn't get a chance to speak about it, and you're trying to start a conversation and your child's behavior changed, assuming that there are 4 or 5 and they're able to, speak to you and string along sentences. If they're unable to tell you, if they're avoiding questions, avoiding eye contact, and not as forthcoming as they normally are, they may need a therapist's help to work through their emotions and to put those emotions into words and
Okay.
feelings.
Okay.
Also, if their play changes, if they're playing with toys and all of a sudden it's like super, super violent and aggressive, kids have minor aggression. They're still learning how to use their hands, how to play, like their fine motor skills are still developing. They're still learning how to control their impulses. But if you see that they are inconsolable, their tantrums are very intense, and you are unable to console them and they're unable to soothe themselves, although they're still learning, those are definitely red flags.
Does this same thing apply for older kids, maybe second graders, third graders, fourth graders? Okay.
100%. You'll see a sudden change in behavior. Maybe they're sleeping longer than they normally do. If their behavior changes socially, like they're withdrawing and they're not speaking to their friends, that can be an indication. If they're having trouble sustaining friendships and all of a sudden they're being really distant and not communicating, like that's definitely a red flag.
So this was a question from someone who watches Good Job Mom, and they said, how can we help our kids develop social emotional language, like beyond happy, sad, and angry?
I think the key is to accept all the feelings that they bring you, and also modeling different feelings. I think it's healthy for children to see a variety of emotions displayed. Some may disagree, but I think that children learn how to express themselves based on the way that emotions are modeled for them by their parents or any adults in their lives. For example, when mom gets angry, she does this. She pounds her fist on the table. A child might be seeing that and they might learn to do that. So it's very important for adults to set a healthy example of how to express feelings, like safe ways. I also think, once again, it's important to provide a safe, non-judgmental space for them to express themselves and to help them develop an emotional language, because once they feel like they aren't judged, they'll come back and they'll express things to you without you necessarily prompting. With younger kids, prompting, of course, is needed. And I stated this before, setting limits and boundaries for children. So it's healthy to provide this safe space and promote expressing your feelings, but also letting them know that these behaviors are safe. These behaviors aren't. It's not okay to harm yourself. It's not okay to harm others when you're expressing these emotions. So kind of just setting a foundation for them to learn.
That's like a gut punch for they mirror behavior.
They are always looking, whether you think they are or not.
No pressure. Sometimes AJ does stuff, and now Zuri does it. Like Zuri yells for AJ. She'll be like, AJ! AJ! And I'm like, and Antoine just said the other day, he was like, she calls him like she's his mom. And I was like,
get that one. Where did she learn that?
I'm the reason that happens. Okay. How can we kind of reverse that when they start copying our bad behavior? Is there a way to do that?
I think holding yourself accountable. When mommy gets angry, she does this, that is not the way. Or that's not really a good or safe way to do that. There are other ways to express. So just saying, mommy did that, that wasn't good.
Okay, that's good.
I don't want you to do the same. It's not really good for you.
Okay. Look, the moms out here are definitely hoping and praying that school opens back up in the fall. So if it does and it opens back up and they're saying that they have restrictions like masks and distancing. I mean, I've seen some crazy things as far as the distancing goes and the masks all day that I'm kind of just like, I don't know that I want to send my kid to school like that. And am I thinking wrong when I think that could like maybe negatively impact them on an emotional level?
You can let them know that there is this new germ that is out here. We don't have a lot of information about it, but we are doing our best to stay safe. Everyone is figuring it out together. Mom and dad, we're doing our best to keep you as safe as we can. When parents appear in control, kids feel safe. When adults are uneasy, children feel uneasy. Like, I would just suggest for parents to prep their kids beforehand, that things may look a little different when they return to school because the world is different. And so things are going to look a little different. We have to give each other extra space. We got to wash our hands more than normal. We have to cover our face so that we don't catch this really nasty germ that's out there. Give them possible ways that things could look different. You can even get animated about it. and also be there to listen to their thoughts when they have feelings about how, things may look, or maybe they're anxious about going back. Create a story about it, of course, art, dance, about all the feelings that come up. So today I saw in your story again, Zuri was using the play kitchen to wash her hands.
Oh, you're gonna wash your hands? Oh, good thing. Okay, good job. Yep, done. Okay.
Kids learn through play. Play is key. That is one moment to teach them and prepare them for what it will look like when they wash their hands more frequently in school and wherever they leave the home. Prep them as much as you can. Also, have them wear masks now before school starts so that they can get used to how things will be. If they're afraid, you'll just have to talk to them when the time comes. Like if it comes up, talk to them. It's natural for parents to want to protect their children's feelings and maintain their sense of safety and innocence, but life is changing, the world is changing, the kids can sense it, and so you want to help mentally prepare them by talking them through it so that there are no surprises.
So you think it'll be okay for them emotionally to go through this reentering school?
It's different. It's like they've had this long break from school. They're having a lot of feelings. They haven't seen their friends in months. I mean, they have a lot of questions about it.
They do.
Naturally, they're going to have different emotions. But I think when they come to you with the questions, like after they experience or they go to school and they see what things are like, giving them that space to talk about it. Like, what was different? How do you feel about it? Let's have a conversation about it. We want to tackle it, not have them feel it, but they are going to feel it. They're already feeling it.
What should we be looking for in a child's behavior? What's normal and what needs to be addressed on a deeper level?
Right. So parents know their children best. You know what a typical day in normal behavior looks like. However, if you see a child self-harming, pulling out their hair, biting their nails excessively when they did it before, hitting, biting obsessively, intense, inconsolable tantrums, smearing feces, bedwetting, selective mutism, if all of a sudden they are not talking for an extensive amount of time and you're just like, what is going on? You're usually talkative. Display of sexualized behavior, difficult social reactions. I mentioned that before for older kids because with younger kids, they are still learning how to socialize at 2 and 3.
Right.
But yeah, poor impulse control, struggling to manage emotions. Although kids are still learning this, 0 to 5, intuitively, parents know when there's an abrupt change.
Some of those behaviors, it can be confusing because they can kind of come off like this is just how a kid acts. Intuitively, we do know when it's a little different than normal. And I think even with AJ, when he was going through the transitions, I thought maybe we needed to take him to a therapist, but I think deep down I knew that he was kind of just processing and it wasn't there yet. It hadn't gotten to that point where he was extreme in the ways that you just mentioned, those examples.
Kids need time to process. Transitions are difficult for children, which is why in preschool, in daycare, in kindergarten, there is a heavy emphasis on transitions and practicing transitions and what it looks like and just preparing them for transitioning through life and what big changes can look like and how to manage it. It can start as simple as waking up from nap time and eating snack. That could be a difficult transition for kids, but as you keep doing it and you keep giving them a routine and a schedule and they practice it, they learn. But of course, it's different when you're moving to another state and you're moving for something that's familiar and something that you liked, something that felt safe, to something that you have questions about, like the child, something that they're not sure about. It's expected for them to have feelings about it and it to manifest in difficult behaviors.
It's interesting that you mentioned transitions just in your day, not just transitions like the big ones, like a move or like a little sister.
Oh, that's a big one. Sibling is a big one.
Yeah, that poor kid had huge, big transitions all at once. But
That'll do it.
Yeah, the transitions though on just a regular day, I've noticed personally, AJ has become less easygoing with small transitions. Do you think that, and I don't know if any other moms feel that way, but do you feel like COVID and the change of no more school and no more friends plays a part in these small transitions and how they process or experience them?
For sure, because COVID kind of changed the way that we live and the ways that we interact or don't interact with others, or in the way and the amount of times that we can leave the house and what we have to do before we leave the house. It changes their schedule, whereas they're used to doing or going to school and coming home and eating dinner, maybe playing outside. Like, things have changed. So of course there has been like a shift in their uh, routines, which can cause some new behaviors and can be hard to manage. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's important for parents to actually identify that this thing happened and it just kind of flipped everything upside down. Mommy and daddy are having to go through changes as well. Like, there are things that we would normally do. Like, I normally go out and get my coffee. I'm talking about you. I am talking about you. I normally go out and I get my coffee, but I am not able to do that.
Right. Right.
So things look a little different for me as well.
That open conversation, just
Mhm.
talking to them like I mean, they need to respect us, that child adult
Mhm.
relationship, but we can also talk to them though like they are, I don't know, adults, like they know what's going on, so keep it real.
Humans are who are experiencing the same thing, because
Right.
really are. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think there's more benefits to and I say regular like therapist appointment just because that is what's normal and what people are
Mhm.
used to, where people
Mhm.
are like verbally just they're hashing everything out verbally.
Mhm.
Do you think there's more benefits to dance therapy versus that? I mean, how do we know what to bring our kids to? What type of therapist to bring our kids to?
That's a great question. So for kids, I think that play therapy, well, kids 0 to 5, play therapy is what you will see
Mm,
across the board. Using like toys, like a kitchen, like different figures, characters, to see how they'll tell their story. I think there's like a heavy emphasis on like play therapy when it comes to kids. Creative arts therapists, of course, because I'm one, I will advocate for that, because
right.
when kids are in school, they use movement, art, stories, music to express themselves. So I, think that is a great form of therapy for them. If we're working with kids with autism, some may need like a nonverbal way to cope and
Okay.
to help themselves express their feelings, because they might not be able to come out and articulate it verbally.
Mm.
So I think that creative arts therapy helps with both verbal and nonverbal interventions, more especially for kids 0 to 5.
And what about older kids?
So for older kids, of course, talk therapy, because they can actually articulate. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's so many different modalities. I think it opens up once the child can like speak. Of course, there's still a process. They need to get comfortable. You need to assess after intake in the first few sessions what kind of therapy would be best for them, or if you're even a match. With kids, it's a little different because, we have a playroom at work.
Right.
The kid would come in, there's Play-Doh, there's toys, there's bubbles, there's a kitchen. They have the opportunity to go in there and play what they would normally do. Whereas with kids older than that, they're coming in, they're sitting. You might have games and different tools that you can use, but it's ultimately you assessing their personality, where they are mentally and emotionally, and what could be the best modality to move forward with therapy.
Is dance therapy available for like high school age students?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
available for everyone, up
Okay.
to elderly age. It's like used a lot in nursing homes, actually.
Mm.
All ages can participate in dance therapy. You just have to maintain an open mind. You don't have to have rhythm. You just come and you bring yourself and you're just ready to do the work. I guess you were going to ask like what my top 3 movement tools are. The act of putting on music, it could be their favorite music, and having them to stop and go helps them to learn patience, self-control, impulse control, mastery, because they may not always be able to freeze. It's so hard for kids to be still. You'd be surprised.
Yes, it
They
is.
also get to work on their gross motor skills,
Okay.
hopping, jumping, walking, skipping. So that's great. I would highly suggest like sensory play with scarves, with Play-Doh, with slime if they're older, play with instruments, anything that will, help them to express themselves. Breathing with bubbles is something that I do a lot, even in my kids' yoga classes or at the end of a session. Or sometimes a kid will just come in so dysregulated and they need to be, they need help grounding. So putting on some soft music, sometimes not, because that could be overstimulating, and just breathing.
Okay.
Them to hold their heart, hold their stomach, and just feel it going up and down. Sometimes you could put like a small stuffed animal in their belly and watch it go up and down, or let them watch it go up and down. Play around with music, put on music, see which music affects their moods in different ways, and go from there.
You said something about bubbles?
Yes.
Okay, like bubbles, like you blow them out and they like bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because kids, like when they're blowing bubbles, they think, oh, we're blowing bubbles, but they're actually practicing how to inhale and exhale as they're blowing the bubbles, but they don't do it that way.